Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about tonguing on our mouthpieces. A fancy word for tonguing in music, you might hear articulation, and we might sometimes refer to it as tonguing or articulation, but they mean the same thing. And it's basically how do you use your tongue inside your mouth while you're blowing to separate the sound. Just like when you're speaking, you use your tongue to make different sounds, to make different syllables. When you're speaking, you're going to use your tongue in music to break up the sound as you're blowing through your mouthpiece and eventually plugging in and blowing through the whole instrument. Now, the syllable that you use inside your mouth depends on what instrument you play. Our flute players are going to say two. So two, 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 two. And you can hear when I did that my sound was very connected. There was no silence or space in between, and that's the correct way to do it. For clarinets and saxophones, the syllable is going to be T. So we're going to say T, 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 if you're a clarinet or a saxophone player. For our brass players, we're going to say ta, 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 ta. And each time, the sound is connected and there's no breaks in between. Now, in order to demonstrate this, I like to use a straw. This is a straw from my drink at McDonald's and a piece of paper. Now, so far we've asked you to blow through your mouthpiece and play with a long and steady sound. And if I do that with my straw and my paper, it's going to look like this. And you can see how the paper, the bottom of the paper, moves out when I blow through my straw. And that is a visual representation of the air that is leaving my body. And you can see that once I start blowing, the paper stays the same. It's long and steady being the key word. And then when I stop blowing, the paper comes back to its regular position. Now that's if I'm just blowing long and steady through my straw. Now, if I were to do 4 twos or 4 T's or 4 tas through my straw, then it should look like this. You can see the paper doesn't change very much, even though you can hear the break in the sound that is happening when my tongue says to or T or ta, depending on what instrument. Now, if I were to blow through the straw and break up the air and stop the air, which we're not supposed to do, then it would look like this. And you can see the paper's kind of moving back and forth, which is still a visual representation of what I'm doing with my air. The air should move steady out of my mouth, no matter whether I'm saying ta or ti or tu or just blowing. It should look the same as far as the paper because it should feel the same coming out of my body. Now I'm going to do it the correct way again. You can see the paper stays out and it barely moves. It wiggles just a little bit because my tongue is briefly interrupting the air, but my air is not stopping. Therefore, the paper is not coming back to its regular position. Here's incorrect. You can see each time the paper comes back to its regular position, and that shows me and you that I'm not using my air correctly. I'm stopping the air in between each sound. So now it's your job to practice that on your own. You can get a straw and a piece of paper and practice it, or if you don't have those handy, you can use your hand. But if you use your hand, there's unfortunately no visual representation of your air. You're going to have to hold yourself accountable for feeling it on your palm. But if you use your hand, I want you to put this part right here where the fingers meet the hand on your nose and then pull it straight out. And then when you blow, I want you to aim your air right here to the palm of your hand. And when you're doing long and steady, no twos or T's or tas, the air should hit your hand the entire time. When you're adding the tongue and doing 4 of them in a row, then the air should still be steady on your hand with a very slight interruption with your tongue. And it looks like this. Here's the long and steady. And you might have actually been able to hear the air coming out of my body, but I felt it the entire time on the palm of my hand. And then when I add the 4 tongues, it looks and sounds like this. And I could feel it on my palm the whole time with a very brief interruption by my tongue. When you do it incorrectly, stopping the air in between, it looks and sounds like this. And there's a big interruption of the air hitting the palm of the hand there. So I would like for you to practice that on your own, either with your straw and paper or with your hand. And once you get really good at doing that without the mouthpiece and the head joint, then we add the mouthpiece and the head joint, and all of a sudden we're tonguing on our instrument.